5-year reunion. The boys about to get into it. Slate time.
What's up, y'all? Joshua Church here with Find the Others, and we're about to record an awesome podcast, a super special episode I'm excited for. I got my boys Danny, Chad, and Ryland with me, and it's been 5 years. 5 years since we graduated college from Ohio and all moved out to Santa Monica, California, sharing a 2-bedroom apartment, and we're going to reflect on that time and how we got to where we're at now and the different experiences, the different mindset shifts, and things that life taught us and we learned from each other. So excited for you to tune in this podcast. Let's go get to it.
So we're gonna start with a couple deep breaths, as I always do. Y'all know this. Go ahead and take a big inhale together through the nose. Let it go. Do more like that. More.
Oh my God, chills.
Beautiful. I love how synced that breath is.
That was clean.
That was pretty clean.
That was clean.
Synced. We've been synced since day one.
Day one, bro. Day one, bro.
And this is fun, man. This has been a long time coming. We've been wanting to do this podcast, and it's great that it worked out to be 5 years. 5 years to the day we were back in Oxford, Ohio, just about to graduate with a lease signed. We had signed the lease.
We were rolled over into your old lease.
We had never
were rolling
been there.
over.
We
Yeah.
had never been there. Oh, you guys had been there.
Yeah, you'd never been. You'd never
never been
dude,
there.
you'd been to California once, but your parents had never even been to California before you moved.
Yeah.
You were like, what happened? You were like calling the mattress people that were delivering the mattress or something?
Yeah, they were like, we're right outside next to the Pilates studio. I was like, dude, I've never seen our apartment before. I don't know.
It might be 5 years, or at least 5 years to the date, or at least really close to when we were sitting at my house in college, and we like walked outside and started like tossing the football, and we were like, yo, we could actually all move into the same place together. I remember that was like, we all wanted to move to LA, but like I remember there was that exact moment where we were like, oh, we're actually gonna move to the same place.
We were thinking about getting a house of like 12 at one point.
Yeah, like 8 to 12 people.
Venice Beach.
Yeah.
I remember looking at the bus route, saying like, yeah, about 20-minute bus ride to my office.
Oh wow.
And I was envisioning that hard, and then we kind of shifted.
I think we were sitting on your couch, and we were just about to graduate, and we felt the vibe of like us four together, and it felt pretty powerful, and it felt like, okay, we're all gonna want to move and take a shot and move to LA together. But like, we can like, what if we lived together? What if the four of us actually went out and did this together?
Right.
And you guys remember that it was like a distinct shift moment. And it's crazy looking back, but that's one of those moments where it just set us on this trajectory that is incredible.
That became this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful for that. Holy shit.
But how about just, it wasn't too glamorous? I mean, I think that's what made it so much fun. I mean, we were moving in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath downtown Santa Monica. 7th and Santa Monica was the intersection. I think 500-600 square feet.
Your mom came into the place. She's like, "Oh,
this is what you're about to be doing." She said, "We're gonna get your recharge time." I was like, "I take my hammock to the beach and I'll recharge if I need to, but I think I can get my recharge from the boys."
We were just down.
Yeah,
we were just like down. It was just like we didn't really like. We were gonna make anything work, you know. Like there was never a second where we ever were looked at that place and we were like, "It's too small."
Yeah,
or like, we have to share a room. Like it just like it was what it was. Like we knew that we had to make things happen for us to be all out there, and like it just wasn't even like I don't know. At least for I remember all of us were just like, no, like this is it.
We were willing to sacrifice any type of like space. We were just like, let's just get the hell out here together and just get out there.
That's it.
And that was
I mean, our beds were literally touching, like no exaggeration. Like they were actually physically touching. And we didn't even have room for a kitchen table in our spot. And we made it work. Like we didn't even have a kitchen. We didn't have a table.
No.
We ate on the ground. We had those little desks that we sat, that we put our food on, and we ate on the ground. And from that, I feel like that also, it felt like it was our chance. It felt like it was a chance for us. Like we got into the game. It was like, all right, we have a ticket. We're here. Now let's make the most of it. And let's hustle and let's grind. And I mean, we all moved out with certain levels of uncertainty, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Chad, you especially, to take us through that a little bit, because you really moved out with like no job lined up, right? A lot of uncertainty in that.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, like that was crazy, because I did not have a job. I did not have a plan. I just knew like I was going to go out there and just do whatever I could to like survive and like find my way. But it was just the fact that I had like you guys. I had us. Like I never like, it never felt like a big risk. It didn't feel terrifying. It didn't feel scary. Yeah, at times it was mad intimidating. And you come from like Oxford, Ohio, where you're a senior, kind of like king of the world on top of it in one way or the other. You know everyone. And you come to Los Angeles, California, right? Like the city of stars where dreams are made. And like that was mad intimidating, but like I had you guys. So it wasn't, there was no like fear. I mean, I remember we'd go after like farmer's market and I'm preparing for the Lululemon interview. I'd never taken an actual interview in my life. I didn't know how to prepare for an interview. And we go to the Namva office and like you're up there working and Ryland and me are going through like interview questions. Like,
so top 10 interview questions. We're like, we got your scripts down pat. We worked on your resume. We got you nice and crisp.
I still have that
job.
notebook.
You got that job in 2 weeks and you were making money.
Yeah, exactly.
What I appreciate about you, Chad, and I would love you to kind of expand about this, but it was always, there was no plan B. It was plan A always, and your energy was always at plan A. And what I appreciate about your work ethic and your mentality is that you're always dreaming big. You're always dreaming big is there's only one option, and then that's kind of manifested to where you are today, where, man, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much, bro. Well, like, I appreciate that. But like, for me, it was like, yeah, whatever it takes mentality, right? But really, like, I was just like, I wanted to be a sponge around you three because like you guys did have jobs. Like you knew how to interview. You knew how to like, you guys felt like you had your shit together from my point of view. So I was like, I just want to be a sponge around these kids. Like, what is this kid doing to prep? What is this kid doing to start his day? Like, how are you responding to adversity? And that's like, was kind of my mindset at the time is like, I'm going to bring whatever I bring to the table for these guys, because clearly like we had something, the four of us, like, chemistry wise, but it was like I just want to be a sponge. And I was like I learned like we'd be waking up at 5 a.m. focusing on breath work, journaling. I learned that from you. We'd be waking up, like you helped me prep for interviews, how to be organized, how to build a resume, like how to actually talk and hold myself like in those interview spaces.
And clean the sink before you do the dishes.
Clean the sink.
We got to revisit that lesson.
That's fair. but yeah, dude, like I'm so proud of all you guys. It's just like we did it together. Like, but that's like the most beautiful thing. I was like, nobody is where they're at by themselves ever. Like I would not be where I am without each and every one of you guys. Like there's no doubt about that. Like it took a team. It took all three of us like working and living together to go to where we want to go. And
I remember I took my first visit in 2016. We moved out in 2017. I took my first visit out to you and I was just looking at some notes that I was taking in that first visit out to Los Angeles. And I remember writing down, you're the average of your 5 closest people. And that's something we've taken to heart a long way. And I'd be curious to hear from Danny. I remember in Oxford, we were just looking at photos of Namba, that Namba shoot. I'd be curious to hear more about that story of how we were kind of mobbing, getting you ready to prepare, and also what that was like, what you were feeling at the time as you were about to take this first job in this leap of faith, going from Pittsburgh to Los Angeles.
Yeah, and just setting the stage with that too. I love that question because it seemed like I was out already for a year, and all of you visited me individually, and were like, got like a taste of it, a taste of like seeing me living out there and being like, whoa, like we could do this too. Like we were playing football, like literally nothing stopping you from doing this besides yourself, right? You remember that moment?
I remember that moment etched in stone. Like.
and then, but you guys went back to school for senior year, and I was not back at school for senior year. I was still in LA. And so when you guys were back at school, it sounds like the three of you kind of gravitated towards each other and started forming a relationship, and then helped, Danny apply for the job interview that got him out here as well. So yeah, I'd love to hear your riff on that now too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, senior year, I was in San Francisco for the first semester. So I was doing the same program that you did. And that was when I realized that I was thinking, okay, I want to, after school, like, I don't want to go to Chicago or go to New York where a lot of, everybody from our school is going to. I was thinking I wanted to go to San Francisco. I just felt like there was a lot for me to learn and grow from being out here. And then I visited you down in LA, and there became that pull a little bit of being like, okay, maybe LA could be a place instead of San Francisco, but, we'll see. And then I went back to school for the final semester. And that was really when I linked with you guys. Obviously we were already close before that, but like you guys were definitely on this, you were on this like different level, I would say, from like, I'm not going to say like everybody else, because there was definitely a lot of like people who were thinking about their future senior year, but like you guys just had this, and I say you guys looking at Ryland and Chad, you guys had this like energy about moving out to LA, potentially. Ryland had been interviewing and looking at jobs, and I can't remind me when you actually got your.
I accepted at the end of the first semester senior year. December 2nd was the day I accepted my job.
I think
that's
rejected from all the other jobs.
Dude,
Yeah.
We got to dive into that.
Yeah, 100%. And so Ryland was you were already going to LA, and I think that was starting to swing Chad you a bit. And for me, when I came back, I was like all about San Francisco, and then I found out that like, two of my best friends were going to be in LA. Another one of my really best, like good best friends is thinking about going there. That changed it all for me. And so for like at that point, I think I just I didn't know what I wanted to do just yet, like there was a lot of mental clarity that I needed to gain, but I knew I wanted to be in LA because going back to the original question of like, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
I knew that if I was around you guys, that it would help me become the person that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then I knew that I should be, and just hold myself to a higher standard and to, a lot of accountability. And so that was really when I started just trying to figure out what jobs I could get out in LA, right? Like we'll dive into this later with the music industry and everything. And that was a pipe dream at that time. But essentially, there was that opportunity to potentially work at Namva, which was a company that your sister was involved in, founding. And I was interested in it, and it fit some of the job description fit some of what I was studying at school. And I think at that point, I just needed to really apply myself because they were looking for somebody who had some experience. And I really relied heavily on Josh being out here and already having a job and talking me through some of, what I needed to do, what they were looking for. I relied a lot on Ryland and Chad specifically for just even helping me through, like, not just the resume process, but like I actually had to go out and, shoot content and put content together, and I needed them as models, which was natural. They're great models.
Natural.
That was fun.
But I mean, yeah, it was like, when I think back to it, it was a legitimate like group effort of getting me that position, which is how I moved out here. You know what I mean? Like I got that job first week of May maybe, and we graduated second week of May. Like I was in a position where I really needed to figure out what I was going to do out here in order for me to move. And I was set on moving out here, but like
it came down to the wire too.
It came down to the wire.
I remember us going nuts.
Yeah. When we found out that night at the bar, it was amazing. And that was just like, when I think back about that, like, I was stoked that I got that job and I was excited for it. But like more than anything, I was just excited to be in a position around you guys and around people who were going to challenge me and hold me to a higher standard and help me, like I said, become who I wanted to be, who I needed to be. That was really important because I think a lot of times you go through life and you go through K through 12. It's very regimented. Every year it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, you meet new people, you get interested in new things, but like you're on a schedule. You go to college, if you're lucky enough to go to college, same kind of thing, right? Like the school year keeps you in a schedule, keeps you in a routine, you're learning new stuff. Then you graduate from college and the world's your oyster, right? And that's a great thing. It's an amazing thing. You can really become who you want to be, but it also can be really scary. And there's not a lot of talk about that. At least I felt that in college. Like you get out there and you have all the time in the world in a way, but you don't really know how to use your time in the best way possible. And if you surround yourself with the right people, it can really help you actually grow and just keep you on track, right? And I think a lot of people too, like say you graduate from college and you get a great job, right? Like pays well, it's challenging you a little bit, but if you get lost in it and you're not really exploring more of life,
and you can get lost.
You can get lost in it, and it can get weird after a year or two of just being out here like, wait, what am I doing? You know? And so going off that, like I just think I was way more interested in just getting a job to make sure I could pay rent, but like then I'll figure it out from there. Because once I know that I'm surrounded by the people who are going to help me figure it out and figure out who I am, who I want to be, holding to a higher standard, then like from there we can, you know, we can do anything.
Right.
Like I always knew that I would be able to, whatever job I worked at, I would be able to do well at it because I was going to not allow myself to not do well. I would put in any work, right? And I'll figure that out. But what I didn't always know is like, when that job ends at the end of the day, like, who am I going to be around myself with? Like, how am I going to grow outside of my profession?
Right.
You know? And that's so much more important, in my opinion, like in the first few years after you graduate school than anything.
The habits that you're building, like the habits that we were building and the mindsets that we were building.
Yeah. Let's dig into that a little bit. These kind of tangible ways that we were cultivating this attitude, this energy, this culture, really, right? Like we looked at it as we were a team. We looked at it as like we were a company within it ourselves. Like, what's our mission statement? Like, what are our goals? We laid that out really early on. Like, what are our goals? How can we support each other? We just brought that culture in that environment. So
like, and like first and foremost, like we set goals, but like we set goals together. Like we knew each other's goals,
right?
And we held each other accountable to those. Like if I knew you were wanted to work out every day and I was up and you weren't, like that was either me holding you accountable or you yourself. Like, he knows I want to be working. So it was this ultimate thing that like really, like that was so powerful from the start.
I love that.
Like so powerful.
Not only like having goals and knowing what your goals are and how you want to grow, but having other people around you also have goals and also know your goals.
Yes.
That way that there's no hiding from it, and you know, and then it creates that like healthy, it's not even competitive environment, but it is to some extent. It's that we're competing with ourselves, but it creates that healthy environment of like, oh, you know, Chad's up now, and you hear him out in the living room, like, all right, like I better get out there too.
100%. And we are vulnerable with each other. Like we were super vulnerable with each other because we trusted each other. And like what it came down to is like, we could bet on ourselves, but like I would also bet my freaking mortgage on each and every one of you. Like no matter what endeavors we were doing, and like even today is like there's not many people that I would say like I would bet my mortgage on this person. And like that type of trust and loyalty and faith in the people around you was like what just kept us going. And like what I mean by that is like I'll never forget this. There's when I was working at MVP Sports Group, and I was like,
this was an internship.
Yeah, when I was interning at MVP, I remember I had like I was doing this project, right? Like I got assigned this project, and I worked my ass off on this project for like 2 months. And I was like, I felt like I crushed this to the like at a high level. I was like, I'm so excited to show my boss this, right? Like the big agent, like I had to impress him. Like I wanted to get a job, right? And I submitted to him, and like an hour later, I get this text like, yo, what the hell is this? Like, this is not what I asked for. And like, I was upset. Like it was at the end of the day, I took the bus home from Century City, big blue bus. I come into our apartment and I'm fucking upset. I'm sad. Like I think like you could see the feet and feel the look on my face that I was upset. So kind of go on with the night. Next morning, we had our 5 a.m. wake up. Each and every one of us was up, and I'll never forget this. I'm start getting ready to go to work, and Danny looks at me. He's like, "Bro, what's up? What's wrong?" I was like, bro, like I had this, and I was kind of embarrassed, but I was vulnerable. I had this big thing and I thought I crushed it and I blew it. And he goes, yo, cut that shit out right now. Like short memory. Like this is not who you are. Go into the office today, go straight to your boss's desk and be like, I'm sorry I messed this up. But like, how the hell do I get better? How do I make this right? I want to get better. And he told me that, and he said that to me. He was like, snap it out right now. Like, he's like, bro, you know how many times I've messed up? And like, you were working at Interscope by this point, and like, I've messed up, but like, I own it. Go up to it. Like, how do I get better?
Get better from
and
it.
That changed everything because I did that, and my day flipped, and I got so much better because of it. But that was like these little ways that like, that was a huge shift in my life. That moment right there, like that shifted everything for me, just like perspective wise. Right. Talk about like no such thing as failure, just growth. And like, it was a moment of like you just holding me accountable and snapping me out of it. Because if I was by myself, like I would have gone into work sad, upset, and not
Tail
have done
between
that,
your legs
right?
and
Tail between my
compounded.
legs, feeling bad for myself. And it was stuff like that, bro, that really just like
kudos to you though for actually just being able to snap into, because not everybody
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think
yeah.
the thing is, and I'll keep it short and sweet, but like we're all gonna fail in life, and honestly you can fail every day, but like fail fast. Don't make the same. Don't make the same mistake twice, and then just like learn from it. Like you cannot be afraid to fail.
Exactly. Winston Churchill says success is going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm.
That's it.
So it's like just keep going. But
100%.
that moment,
I think something too, before we get too far past it, on the accountability, something that I want to bring up, because it's like people can say like, oh, I want somebody to keep me accountable, and I want to keep others accountable in a way that we did it. Something that like shouldn't get overlooked, but when we moved into this apartment that Josh had been living in, there's a huge whiteboard in there. And this is a real thing, is like, and Josh, I'd love for you to talk about this because it was already in there, but like how we kept each other accountable. Yeah, we spoke with each other and we told each other our goals and stuff, but we wrote stuff on that whiteboard in our living room, and it was there looking at us
every day.
And like that's a real, we found, and that worked for all of us as a way to actually keep us motivated and keep us accountable. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that, but that was just ours. But like, honestly, Josh, like you had that whiteboard in there, and that now I have a whiteboard in my room. Like I'll never not have a whiteboard. That was something that was very, very instrumental to probably all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Visualizing and having it as a visual cue makes a difference. And I remember we would literally every night we were on some crazy shit as you look back at it, right? Like honestly, just not normal stuff. We would write down the wake up time, at what time we were committing to waking up.
Yeah,
and
we would.
Through that, what is really cool is like we were building reliance in our own word, and we were building commitment to ourselves by saying, hey, I'm waking up at 5:45 tomorrow. Hey, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And we were writing down, and I know we got pictures of like the whiteboard of just different ideas and quotes and inspiration and stuff like that to keep the vibe up. And we would commit to what time we were working on. So through doing that, then when that alarm went off, like we were committed and we were putting check marks next to it Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So that was a really powerful tool. And then Ryland, I want you to share a little bit more. I love what you were talking about there, Chad, too, around the vulnerability and sharing with each other. And I think that was something that we created very early on with tea time, Shabbat dinners as well. But having a chance, and this is something so simple that everybody can do, but just have a chance to like have real conversation with people. Ask people like, how you doing? Like what's going on? So can you share a little more about that, Ryland, and the framework that worked well?
Yeah. And I'm kind of organizing my thoughts as you talk about this and listening to every single one of you go through it. And I think the best way to explain it and the most tangible way for anyone that's listening is it was kind of a 3-step process. And I remember this was like the very start of your coaching career, is us turning our futon, which is basically our only furniture in our family room, around completely, a 180 to focus on the whiteboard. And we entered Joshua's classroom. And this was the beginning of 2018. This was the beginning of 2018, and we established what our goals were. You went through the entire goal setting process, a lot of inspiration throughout. One of the things that stuck with me is make sure you're shooting high. Aim high to miss low. And that was one thing that really stuck with me. So we went through our Q1 and 2018 goals. So we had a framework of what we all know, what we all knew what we wanted to do. And then, so that was the highest level. Step 2 was having Shabbat dinner. This is something that's been ingrained in ritual for your Jewish religion, but it's something that for me, I grew up Christian, and it's something that I didn't align so much on what the spirituality, that what we're actually going for on a day-to-day basis. But what I really was able to resonate with was the principles, and the principles was reflection and being present and sharing just a good meal with one another. And what we took away from that is every week we check in. It's like what was good, what was bad.
Rosebook thorn.
Yeah, rosebook thorn.
What's the rosebook thorn?
Yeah, rose is like one thing that beautiful happened this week. Thorn is one thing that really stung this week, and then a book is like what you learned this week.
We did that every Friday,
which tend to like loop back around to the goals, like the higher arching goals of what we wanted to get done each week. And there was a lot of parallels, and we learned a lot. And then the final piece was, I know we all were really big on journaling. So that's the daily practice. So we had like a quarterly practice, a weekly practice, then a daily practice. And the journal was basically our outlet. It was like our therapy. It was day to day. How are we feeling? What's going right? What's going wrong? Like, how are we differentiating ourselves from our peers, our competition, our team? Like, what are we bringing value to the table? And that was I think that was the kind of the formula for the first year, 2, 3, and what we just did a Shabbat dinner last night.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. This is basically our tea time right here, right now.
Yeah.
It's like it's all in a different fashion, right?
And we always knew too. As we would always have these conversations, like we knew where it was taking us to, and we had the visions too.
Bro, we sat in that motherfucking first apartment and said, this bitch is gonna be a museum one day. They're gonna rope this off and this is gonna be a museum. Do not touch this. The fishbowl.
Yes.
R.I.P.
Alfonso.
But like
he's just on vacation.
But like that was what also like really jacked me up is like I was around dreamers and I always was around dreamers, like, and I wanted to continuously be around dreamers. Like we had goals, we had ambition. Like we moved out to LA because college was amazing, high school was amazing for everyone. I was like, all right, I think a big part of it was just like, yes, it was all about who we were with. It didn't matter where we were, but it was like, okay, LA, biggest stage. Like we wanted to dream, we wanted all, we still do.
Yeah.
But like it was this mindset of like fuck good, we demand great. Like we wanted greatness. Like we were seeking, and we continuously are seeking greatness. And it was that vibe that like inspired me like every day. Like either you were having a difficult conversation with your boss, or you were trying to make your next move at your current job, or you were doing this with coaching. And it's like everyone was constantly like pushing their edge, like finding their edge. Like what point am I gonna quit? At what point can I really get to? And it's like that was the mindset that we lived with from day one, was like, let's go for the edge, like let's go till we can't go no more. And that was mad inspiring. Like that was just day one stuff that we naturally had. And then once we became conscious, as we continued to become conscious about the mentality and the practices of like we would not use the word try. Like you banned the word try. And like you won't hear me use the word try to this day. Yeah. But you could say fuck, but you can't say try. Like
we did try to do a swear jar though. Remember we were like, it didn't work.
Because swearing is gross. It's a gross habit. I'm guilty of it. So, sorry, mom, again. But like but it was like these things, right? In TBC, think best case.
Yeah.
Like, yo, parking is gonna be awful. Yo, quit that shit. TBC, bro. Think best case. What do you know? There's a parking spot right there.
Yeah.
But it was like those little shifts mentally that like at first they're just reps, 1 time, 2 times, but then you start consciously doing them every day. You start practicing that every day, and that just kept helping us level up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a way to tie it together. And Josh, I want to intertwine you here. I think you kind of been the leader behind this squad. We're talking a lot about goals. I want to make it applicable. Like, tell me about a time from 2018 to 2020 of which you had a big, hairy, audacious goal that you set that you wanted to attack. Like, just share one. Because you have many, that came to fruition through this practice.
Through this practice, I think one of the funny things was, I think it was 2018, 2019. I had the goal of having my first like 6-figure year, so of earning 100K in income, and that was just something, especially in the work that I'm doing. The income is a measure of the impact that I'm making, which is really, really beautiful and cool. And so I had this goal of hitting that first 100K year, and I was close, and I didn't think it was possible until like the last couple months of the year, which is always how it goes, right? It's like the last couple, if you're trying to hit, an 8.3K average throughout the year, it's never going to be like set like that. You're going to have some low months, some high months, especially in the roles that I was doing when I was big into sales. Yeah, you know how it goes. And so I was like, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen. And we're coming down to December now, and it's like, okay, this is the last month, and I'm like starting to tally up of just like, oh, we're like, this is actually feasible. We're close. And I signed up for Uber because
forget that.
I literally signed up for Uber because I'm like,
I was gonna drive.
I'm like, I'm so close to hitting this goal. Like, I'm gonna hit this goal. So I literally signed up to drive Uber.
That's funny.
Thankfully, I didn't need to take a ride or anything, but it's that mentality of like, all right, like I'm gonna hit this goal one way or another because I'm so close.
But I want to hammer in that point so much because that was what I was going to say, because I will never forget that moment when you were so close to hitting your goal and you're like, I actually don't give a shit. I will go drive Uber right now if I need to. I'm hitting this goal. And that was so mad inspiring. There's a million ways. There's a million ways. And that was just mad inspiring.
Yeah. And I think for that practice too, we did it. We made it an annual thing of doing some goal setting, and there's great frameworks, and really like it doesn't matter so much about the framework. It just matters about talking about it.
Yeah.
Verbalizing it. And
social contract.
The social and the stat. I mean, the studies and the psychology show how much like when you write down and clarify a goal, your chances of hitting it exponentially increase. When you share that with others, they like triple instantly.
Yeah.
So just whatever it is, like whatever we want to do, it just talking about it and constantly talking about it and checking in with each other on it and made all the difference.
That's how we got out here in the first place.
Yeah.
You did. You're right.
Because
tell about that.
I swear it's like, and Naval Ravikant calls them social contracts, and I swear it's the truth, because the first time I really saw it into existence, I'll never forget. You came back from LA. You were visiting Josh and Ricky, and you were lady titties. Like I
was a different man. I came back a different man.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was so unbelievable. And you did. And I was working out with you at Lifetime in Cleveland, and you're like, dude, I think we're gonna like move out to LA after school. And then I was like, well, no, I'm moving to LA after school. But it was from that moment that I started talking about it. Cause like once I saw you commit out, like saying that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go too. And then you were quickly like, I'm going too. And then we kept talking about it all of college. What do you guys do? What everyone's asking, what are you doing post grad? I'm going out to LA. I'm going out to LA. doing what?
You're like saying it like not even like knowing or believing.
I
even for
didn't
yourself,
even
really.
know myself.
Yeah. Your parents were like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, like I didn't know I was actually gonna do it. And then we graduate, and then it's like, oh shit, I think I have to go to LA now. I said it so many times. I think I have to go to LA. Like I have to move. But it's those social contracts. It's like you speak those things into existence, and then you have to.
And you start to believe them.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is interesting too is not only we talked about it, but we supported each other to do it. And there's two examples that come to mind. I can share personally how I felt really supported, and then Ryan, I want to ask you as well, because I think that was another big moment for me. But when I decided I wanted to do an Ironman triathlon, and I knew that it was going to be a push, and basically all my weekends for the next 6 months were going to be shot, and I would be going to bed early and training during the weekends and stuff, like y'all supported me through and through, and I never felt any like guilt or peer pressure of just like, you know, oh, Josh isn't coming out tonight, or he's not going to be around as much. You supported me even to the point where like we were getting ready to do a long ride. Rob and I were getting ready to do a long bike ride. We had a few friends over. It ended up turning into like a house party. And like you guys kept it down and then moved everybody to the bars so that like I could get some sleep, because I had a big ride the next day. So that I felt that massive support, and I was just like, dang, like it made that so much easier and possible for me to know that I had your guys' back, and I shared that with you, and you supported me. And Ryland, I remember when you were studying for your exam.
Oh yeah,
that was a big thing. Like you were in the office on Saturdays and Sundays, and that was a big thing. And Chad, when you were working shifts, weekend shifts too, that was a big thing. And Danny, when you were working at the Hive and you were working at the cafe, working weekend shifts, when you were early on in Interscope as well, like. We had as much fun together as we could, and we also supported each other and been like, all right, like go take care of that. Like we'll work the plans around that. Yeah. I don't know if you guys felt that too, but there was never 100%. Any like guilt or which made a big difference.
Yeah. I think it just came down to purpose and why we were really clear on that. I think we were just really conscious around that. I think we've talked about why a lot on your podcast, so I'm not going to beat the head, beat on its head too much, but it's really just when you really are clear on that, I think everything follows suit. Like this comes back to having no plan B for you. Like you're doing this triathlon, you're doing this Ironman. Right. For me, the test I was taking was CFA level 1, had like a 42% pass rate at the time. I was so scared of that, and I didn't I was so scared of failing that I didn't make it an option. So I put in like 1.5x what you're supposed to study for that exam. And I was really clear on that, and respected what I needed to get done. And I think you guys respected it as well.
Yeah,
totally.
Well, I think it was like, because like you set a great example of like what you would do. Like when Josh was like doing a triathlon, or when Josh was going to bed at 9 p.m. is like, yeah, I'm going to bed, and like we could dog on you, but like, you drew your line in the sand. Like you said no to say yes to yourself, and I think that really inspired a lot of us, especially something that I struggle with a lot, like overcommitting or whatever. And you were really good at like, no, I'm saying yes to myself. Like I can't commit to this right now. And I think like that inspired you too in a lot of ways. Like you were able to be like,
in a different way.
If Josh could take like miss going out tonight because he's got to like triathlon, like I could say no to going out tonight to like study or whatever that was.
It was a level of maturity that I think all of us kind of needed to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we had some we had some good times, and we had some tough times as well. Like we shed some tears together. We faced a lot of adversity together too, and a couple times that come to mind. One, Danny, is when you realized Namva, the company you were working at that you moved out here for, I mean, not that long, what, 6 months into it, 5 months into it, maybe even short, 4 months into it, was shutting down. And I'd love for you to talk about how you took that in stride and how you took that as an opportunity to like make the next level up in your life.
Yeah, for sure. The quick backstory is just, and I shared this, I think I shared a bit of it on the podcast to plug the Find the Others podcast that you're listening to now, but my previous episode. But I moved here, from Pittsburgh, went to school in Ohio, moved out here as far away from home as possible. I knew these guys, nobody else, and I was working this job. And after 4 months, the job, it was a startup company, and as startup companies do, from more times than not, it ended up failing. And I was in a position at that moment where I hadn't been, super, super happy with the job. So immediately as the job went under, I was like kind of freaked out and nervous, but I also felt some sort of relief of like, okay, now I have a second chance to like find something that I really want to do. And at that time, what I really wanted to do was get into the music industry. And I think I was very naive about how I could go about and do that. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any connections at all. But I remember the day that I found out Namva was going under, for the first 20 minutes, I started thinking in my head, like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, this is crazy. Like, what's going on? And literally, like, it was like a snap in my brain where I was actually like, wait, this is the greatest thing ever. Now I have no excuses not to get into the music industry. Like, this is actually my chance, right? And in order for me to do that, like, I was lucky enough to get some severance pay from the startup because our sales were okay. And so I knew I needed to take some time off to, one, like, check in with myself and like get me okay. Like, I didn't want to rush into anything else. And so it's a whole other story. But I booked a trip to Southeast Asia within 24 hours of our company failing, which is crazy. And did like a 3-week trip there by myself, followed some advice from the guys who had done that previously. But I did that so I could check in with myself and so that I could really give myself the best opportunity to get into the music industry. And I think like the reason that it went like that was like, there was no point in me dwelling on, wow, why is this happening to me? My company just went under, like I moved across the country, like what now? Like, what am I doing? Like, I had to look at it from like a growth mentality of just saying like, this is happening for me. And I chose to do that, and it was hard as a practice, but I think that's the only way that I was able to really like continue and strive forward and get into something that I was extremely passionate about and give myself an opportunity to pursue something that I was really passionate about, even if it was scary and hard. But it was just like, there was no use dwelling in something that had already happened. Like, I had to look at it like it was happening for me and stay positive about it. And you guys being around me, like, I remember, it's funny, but I remember coming home and telling you guys, and I remember seeing the looks like kind of on your guys' faces, like, we're just like, oh shit, like, you all right? And like, I remember being like, actually, like, no, like, we got this. Like, here's what I'm about to do. And from the second I said that, like, the looks on your guys' faces changed, and you were like, you got this. Yeah. And like, they wasn't even looking at me like, yo, you're crazy. Like, let's talk about this for a second. You guys were like, all right, cool. Like, you got this. Like, let's go. Like, let us know how we can support you. And like, that was felt immediately. You know what I mean? Like, that was just, it was audacious, and like, but I felt like it was a normal thing to do because the people around me were like, yo, like, yeah, of course. Like, it's going to work out.
Totally. One of the things I find interesting is that we all have very different careers, which is interesting. But I think we all have found our way to align ourselves with careers that really light us up, and on a career path that is promising and lights us up, which is not an easy thing to do, especially within 5 years out of school. Like, a lot of people are struggling with that throughout their entire life. And we were open to exploring it and taking the failures, quote unquote, in stride and taking chances with it. But I'm just sitting here thinking about it. It's like, you knew music was something you were passionate about, and you had this dream of getting in the music industry. It was like a very clear, I want to be in music somehow, some way. And so that was very clear to you. And so you're in the music industry. You had that clarity. Now you're in that music industry. Chad, like, what's interesting for you is you always wanted to be in sports. and you wanted to be in the sports industry, you wanted to be a sports agent maybe, and you had an internship at a sports agency, and you thought that, this was the path for me, and until it didn't pan out there for you. So you took a beat and said, maybe startups, and you kind of found yourself in this startup lane where you're able to cultivate this teamwork, the things that you loved about sports, and be a leader in the way that you're doing now in the startup companies that you're involved with, and in the sales environment side of things as well, that you're able to compete. So like you found your lane with that. And for Ryland, for you as well, like you made a big career shift when you were not happy at the desk data crunching numbers, and within the company, you made a shift to be more client facing side and to share more of your skills. And on top of that, it's created a whole side hustle and created a side business to balance out the very, logical, analytical, strategic side of yourself with the creative, playful side of yourself. Yeah. So it's like interesting to just see that there's multiple ways to skin this cat. Like there's multiple ways to approach a career. And it's not like we all had this clarity of like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And we moved out to LA and made that happen. Like we explored it and we took the things in stride.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about, we like instinctively push each other, motivate each other.
Yeah, we helped each other get there.
If he's going to like pivot like that, I can pivot. If he's gonna pivot, I can pivot. You can pivot, right? It was like we showed each other what was possible.
Yeah.
We showed each other that like we could do anything. Like that we are actually in control. And that was like day one. That was like, yo, like I'm in control of this shit. Like I make the choices here. Event plus response equals outcome. Adjust your sail to win. Adapt. Make a decision. Don't look back. Like these are things we preach to each other. We talked about, like we support each other. So like we weren't scared to make moves, to adjust, to let go of old ideas, old thoughts, or whatever that was. Like we motivate each other based on like what we said to each other and how we supported each other, but also through like our individual actions. Like all of your individual actions, even if you weren't specifically saying something to me, motivated me. Like showed me, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we all, stayed late to work to talk to network, to connect. Like if you saw somebody networking, connecting, you're like, oh, I better be doing the same thing, right? Like we always were pushing each other in all these different ways, showing each other all of these different paths that were possible just based off our actions.
I think something that we all took to heart is like the controllable aspects of life, having a good attitude, treating the janitor the same way you're going to treat the CEO, showing up, having the energy, like being a likable person, actively listening, asking good questions. I think when you come into a work environment, that's what separates you. And the fact that each and every one of you were so good at that, I didn't have an option to not bring that in. So I was, like you said, I was in a very introverted job when I first moved out to California. And within a year and a half, I was like, I went to my boss and said, hey, I want to be on this team. And I got denied for about 6 months, but I kept on being persistent. And I was having those traits around the office. Hey, I just got denied this transfer within the office. And then 6 months later, they're like, we've had 2 or 3 people turn over. And Ryland, we love the way you took that in stride. We still think you'd be great on this team. And then they welcomed me with open arms in that team 6 months later. So I hit that adversity. Then I kept on pushing through. But the way this loops back together is just, those controllable aspects. There's so much out of control in our life. What we can control is our attitude, our energy, the way we show up every day. And I think that's really crucial for this group, but also the listeners that's listening today. Right?
Can I ask you a question about that? Because like that is, I like almost forgot that you got denied that initial transfer. And you had to wait like 6 months until you got that offer again. And I'm curious, like, I think that is such a prime example of like, you could have so easily, after not getting denied that transfer, been like, all right, fuck this company. I'm out of here. Or I don't
shutting down internally,
right? But instead you kind of took, whether you like said this to yourself or not, but like, okay, what's meant for me will be mine. What's not will miss me. And like, if it's not now, something better is supposed to come. Or it's not, that's only connect looking backwards. So I'm just curious, like, what was your mentality during that part? Like, and how did you end up getting that promotion? Like,
so I think it dates back, even my adversity came a little bit earlier, just when I came back after that 2016 trip to Los Angeles. I came back to my parents and said, hey, I'm moving to California. And they said, how? And I said, I don't know yet. So then my actions and what was going on in my life didn't fully align with my intent. So I went back to school and I went to career fair and I had like 8 or 9 job interviews, all in the Midwest, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago. Would make it to the final round. And then this was for a full-time job. And I was dropped every single time. And then meanwhile,
like jobs that you're well qualified for, that like there should be no issue with you getting these jobs.
Yeah.
Remember, it was just like it wasn't making sense. Even the backups were like,
yeah. And I was really tripping up because I was always a motivated person. I wanted to have a job like August of my senior years, just so I knew what I was going to be doing. And then, you know, job after job interview, I was getting dropped. And then the energy aligned, the universe took care of me. Like, dots aligned. I shared this in a different podcast episode. We'll link it because it's a story in itself. But I got the job, my dream job at this company that I still work for today. So that was like the first point of adversity. It's like just trust the process. Like the universe, they got someone. There's a higher power working for you. So, you know, I just shared the story about how about a year and a half in, it wasn't working out within that current job. It was a little bit more introverted. I'm obviously an extrovert. I wanted to work with relationships and people, be more on the sales side. And it took about 6 months for that to fully go through, just the patience and the attitude. But I think it's also the gratefulness of just being where I was, because I sometimes felt like I shouldn't be there. And then even like the promotion from associate to senior associate, which happened about a year ago, I thought I deserved it at year end. I thought a lot of things were moving in for me in motion, the feedback I was getting at work, and it didn't come. And so this was a third time's a charm where I'm like, I was really defeated at my current job. And I was like, why didn't I earn this? Like everything was there. And it turned out 3 months later, someone quit. Shout out Max Gallagher, who's one of our good buddies.
Shout out to Max Gallagher.
And then sure enough, I was next in line, 3 months. So it's like delayed gratification, delayed gratification for everything.
It's just like, don't stop. Keep
you
going.
can't stop.
It's like you got to go through every emotion, right? You're going to have to go through every emotion to get at what you're trying to get at, right?
100%.
Chad and I talk about this all the time too, and like I can let you go about it, but it's like, as long as you actually don't stop, you're going to find it. You're going to make it. And it takes some people longer than not, but like if they got there, it's because they didn't stop. You just never know how close you really are. Like if you end up stopping and giving up, you know, like you could have been a week away, a month away, a year away from whatever the place that you want it to be. Like, but if you don't stop, you'll get there. You know, and that's it's of course there's a lot to a lot that goes into that. Of course, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but like it's something to remember always. 100%. Like when you're going through adversity, like you did, like keep battling, like because you're going. It's gonna happen. You have to believe that.
Inevitable.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Can't be so short term. It shouldn't be week to week, month to month. It should be like, okay, where do I want to be in 12 months?
Right.
5 years. And when you have that attitude and you're aligned day to day, like what lights you up, I think that matters a lot.
I think that's hard for a lot of people in our generation, a lot of our friends as well. I've seen struggle with that. Is it's really easy to give in, or it's really easy to be like, oh, this didn't go my way, or like I deserve this, which is like around. I mean, I've seen time and time again with your work of like, you've not for 1 minute been expected or entitled in any way. And you've just been like, all right, cool. Like I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to keep grinding.
Yeah.
And that's always been inspiring to me as well.
Yeah. The deserve thing is crazy. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I deserve this. I deserve this promotion. I deserve this raise. Right. And it's like, there's no handouts in this life. There's no handouts in this life. Like if you want something, you have to take it. Like you have to take what is yours. And the thing at the end of the day is like, and the like, just keep going, all steps forward, just keep going. But like also life's a balance. Like you have to be able to let go too. Like bringing it back to the sports thing, like I could have kept going and been persistent on that. But I made the decision like, okay, I'm going to let go of this right now because this feels good. This feels right. This is exciting me, and adjust my sail to the wind, adapt to the wind, like be able to make changes, to make decisions. Like if when you're flowing like that, like if something is not flowing, it's like, all right, let's pick up the rock and go that way. Right. Like I'm still going to go forward, but it's like a lot of people ask me like, I want to do this, but like I don't like. I want to like I'm a college major and I do finance and accounting, but I don't want to do that. It's like that's okay, right? Yeah. Like you used to say this to me all the time because like I had the passion of sports. I was in the tech startup space crushing it. I had passion in entertainment and like motivating, inspiring, and coaching. So there's like all these different verticals, right? That I'm like super passionate about. And I was like, which one do I do, Josh? Like, do I go? And you're like, bro, like what Chad Sonkin is going to get paid for, like what you're going to make your money on, like that doesn't yet exist. Like you're creating that. Like it's not going to be just a sports lane or a tech lane or a startup lane or a coaching lane. It's like your getting up, your mountain's going to be all of these things. It's whatever you create.
We were drawn on the whiteboard, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like that shifted everything for me, right?
More whiteboards.
More whiteboards.
Yeah.
But it's like, don't be afraid to let go. A lot of times strength comes in letting you go. Like adapt your sail to the wind. Take the feedback. If that's what you're noticing, don't force what isn't there. Like you can, but at the same time, if you are attacking that, like keep going.
Adapt without losing enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Like that Winston Churchill quote.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears and I want to chat about the Christmas card. Because I feel like this is a really pivotal point of all of our stories, Ryland, particularly for you as well. But let's talk a little bit about this Christmas card. So, do we remember where the idea of the Christmas card came from?
Is me for sure.
Do you remember? Because I don't.
I don't. Do you remember? No.
I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like we thought it would be like a funny way to just like
Say what up.
to say what's up to people. It was like our first year out of college. Like I don't know, 6 months since we had seen some people. Like everybody knew that. Or everybody that went to school with us knew that 4 of us were living together. Like, I think we thought it would be like a really funny way to
Like
check in with people. And like, also like there was, like we wanted to send it to some girls that like
It's a facey move.
It's a facey move.
Yeah.
It's like hey, I haven't talked to you for a few months. Like,
Put us
here's us looking good with white turtlenecks. Like, how are you?
Yeah. So we shot that Christmas card, and that was like the way it came was just like the first one was so organic. We ended up sending 3, right?
We did.
Throughout a couple years, we lived together. We sent 3, and the first one was so fun how it like just kind of came about, and then it was even cooler what actually happened from that. So we like sent it out to a bunch of people. It's an epic card, which I'm sure is playing on the B-roll right now. It's an epic card. And Ryland, tell us about what that card meant for you and your process.
The short of it, I mean, I sent that card to Hallie U Vegas, and I'm sure you're listening now, Hallie, who's now my fiance. The pointy point
Spoiler
of view there,
alert.
yeah. Spoiler
alert.
Yeah, right. But that's how it changed my life. I mean, this is just we were 4 guys on top of each other, looking around the corner, saying Christmas around the corner. Here's 4 dudes in white turtlenecks, just looking like fools. Wrote a really sweet note on the back to her, and she wrote back. And in that card that she wrote back was, hey, my birthday's coming up. I would love to come out and see the Cali Boys in California or something like that. It's actually still on our refrigerator, the one that she wrote back today. But yeah, it was just one of those things, just one of those like pivotal moments, changed the trajectory of my life, because later we reconnected. We weren't really close in college, and just the way the dots aligned later on when she actually came out to visit, to move a friend out of Loyola Marymount.
So what role did the Christmas card play in that relationship? And because it felt like you guys were kind of talking, and then you sent the Christmas card, and then she sent back, I want to come visit, and then like that escalated things. Yeah, it
escalated. It made it like Snapchat and text and can only go so far. But when I was being so persistent and sent a Christmas card, she that's when it gave me a differentiated factor with her in her head, because she kept on being stone cold to me for a while. Yeah. So yeah, it was just one of those things that.
Christmas card was a good
move.
Don't sleep
Extra effort though, like for sure.
We went up to her at senior year in the wine bar.
She didn't break a smile, man. She didn't want to talk to me.
Ryan's like, yo, come over. Let's go talk to this girl.
Talk about being persistent. Ryland's got the story.
We walk over, he says something. I'm like, I don't think she said to you, bro.
Hate to break it to you. And then she ended up moving out. Eventually she ended up moving out after you guys were dating for a bit, long distance.
Yeah.
And that was fun when we picked her up at the airport. As a
was
squad.
so
We were in the trunk of my car on the way to the airport, writing
drawing a sign saying welcome home.
Yeah.
Well, I think we were so inspired by the Christmas card too that we ended up shooting a few shots after that.
And missing a few shots.
Missing them all.
It didn't work, bro.
You set the bar high, bro.
Yeah.
God damn.
But then picking up Hal was fun, and welcoming her as part of the family, having her energy around was really great. And you were the first one of any of us to get into a relationship and get into a serious relationship.
Yeah.
And I know we all took that as another big sign of maturity. And like, it's kind of cool when, especially with all 4 of us, it was like one of us would do something to like raise the bar in some area of life, whatever it might be, health, career, fitness, relationships. And then we all kind of like followed suit with that. But, and then you moving in with her too was a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Navigating being the only guy, with a serious girlfriend who, shout out to Hallie, dropping 3 jobs in Cleveland to move across country to strengthen and further our relationship was a huge commitment. And when she moved prior to COVID. This was the end of 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, just her being 2 blocks away and navigating like boys' night on a Wednesday night versus going over Hallie's and being there for her when she's trying to navigate what it's like to start her own business in California. That was difficult in itself. But it was fun. It was so much fun. And then I was faced with the decision when Josh said he was moving to California or back down to San Diego. And I had the decision to make after Hallie had been there for less than a year, whether to move in with Hallie or continue on living with the guys. And had a lot of serious conversations with my brother, his fiance at the time, all you guys, of like what's best for me. And there was just navigating a bunch of ambiguity of not jumping into this relationship too soon, but also just like realizing the commitment that she made to me and the commitment that I have to make to our relationship. It was kind of like one of those things when you're in 6th grade, you're about to go to 7th grade to middle school, or when you're in 8th grade, you're about to go to freshman year in high school. It's the next level of you like, how hard is chemistry actually going to be? Am I going to be really challenged by this algebra class? Like this scares me a little bit, like this unknown and like how much I'm going to be pushed. But it was all the fear, false images. Yeah, was it false images appearing real?
False expectations.
Yeah, expectations appearing real.
I mean, like what I focused on is how similar Hallie and I are actually, how similar we actually are, and how much she pushes me and how much I push her, and that's what mattered. No matter what disagreement we might have, and then every relationship has a disagreement or will have their challenges along the way. But what's something I've shared with Danny recently is that you love the good, the bad, and ugly when you really fully commit to a relationship. And that's something that your mom shared with me, and I've taken it a long way. And within a year and a half, I was 100% Hallie's my partner. She's my partner for life. And now, I'm marrying her on November 26th, 2022 this year, I guess.
I knew she was the one the second she sent the Sugar and Falls popcorn shop popcorn from Cleveland. I was like, bro, you better wipe that off. Please.
Yeah.
But like that's actually beautiful, and like you guys, you two and your relationship it's such a joy seeing like how far you guys have come. Just like I remember how like it was Hallie took that jump. She just knew us, like your best friends really, and like to see your growth and her growth together. But like in like Hallie like has just her growth has been freaking believable too. But it's like it's so beautiful to see your guys' relationship just like literally from that bodega scene to like all the way to like you're gonna be walking down the aisle with her. It's just you really set the standard for like what a healthy, beautiful, pushing like you growing together relationship looks like. And I love watching you guys. I love watching you guys. Like
it is it's definitely been a great thing to like learn from it, to see. And it's just going back to, it's just putting in the effort, like both you and her both, you know, like
how has that impacted your relationship too? Because then you've gotten into a relationship. You were the next one that stumbled yourself into a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's a dog mom.
And I think
she's a dog mom, bro.
And I think too, like Ryland was somebody like getting to that point, getting ready to like move in. It can be like Ryland said, like it's a huge step. It's something you've never done before. And like as you grow in life, like there's not that many things that you get faced with that you haven't done yet. And so when those things happen, like you're always going to be a little bit like you can be, I guess I should say, a little bit hesitant, but like Ryland was somebody that I spoke to about it, to just like pick his brain, because like I remember him going through it and feeling all the emotions, and like something that I always stuck to me was like, again, like I know I just said it like 2 minutes ago, but it was like putting in the effort and like being like, look, like it's not always going to be the greatest situation ever, but like I'm gonna put in the effort to make it as great as it can be, or as great as it should be, and like give it a chance, and so that's been something I would say like I've definitely taken from as a student of your experience. And I think it's just like as life continues to happen around like the four of us, like we've known each other for, I don't know, like since freshman year of college. So that was coming up on 9 years or so. Yeah. And so like our lives and then really getting a chance to what this is all about, like really getting a chance to really know each other and be a part of each other's lives about 5 years now. We are intertwined in a lot of ways and we're on the same paths, but when one of us does experience something new, it's like it perks the rest of our ears up, and it like gets us in tune and be like, oh, like, okay, we always know that like one of us is going to be the first to do something. Like it's just how it goes. And when that happens, like that person, we're all natural leaders, but that person's the leader of us. And I think it's like we really pay attention when that happens, and we really learn. And it's like it gives us the ability to really like be the best version of that, and like help and talk to each other about it. And like feel free to jump in here, but like that's just kind of like something that I feel like I've picked up like as we go on our like current paths individually, and there's a lot of overlap and whatnot, but it's just an ability to learn from one another and like really talk about everything that we're going through, you know.
To expand it, it's like having 4 times the amount of growth because we can learn from each other's growth journeys and process, right? So it's like it's not just I'm not learning from my own experiences, I'm learning closely and intimately from 3 other people's experiences. So that helps exponentiate the growth process in all different areas of life. So this is going to be fun. I just had this vision of us sitting down 5 years from now, reflecting on 5 years from this point, 10 years from moving out here, which is going to be really a trip. So
how old are we going to be? 32? If my math is correct.
32, 33? Yeah, something like that. So that's going to be a trip to see. But what, if we think about, and this is a question for all of us individually, what advice would you give yourself 5 years ago when we're getting ready to make a big move? We're getting ready to graduate college and shift into this next stage of our lives, really? Because I feel like we're all right now making other big next, like things work in kind of seasons and cycles like that. And I feel like we're all making big shifts and big life changes right now as well. But if we look back to 5 years ago, what advice would you give yourself? What would you tell your younger version of yourself?
Buy Bitcoin.
that was the words coming out of my mouth, bro. Those were the words coming out of my mouth. That is fucking clean.
That's good. That's good.
The words coming out of my mouth, bro.
No, just kidding.
And ETH Hammer.
Yeah. I can jump in first.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I was just gonna say, I mean, like I mean this, but and it's easy to say, but like I wouldn't really change anything because I'm very happy with where I'm at and it's supposed to happen. But like I think just something that I would have reemphasized to make myself, I guess, not be as stressed as different life moments happen is just like life. It's precious and it can be really short, it can be really long, but like life is what you actually make it. And so like if you are in a positive mood about everything, or at least try to be, and you know that life happens for you always, like you start realizing like it's going to be okay. Like everything is going to be okay. It can be hard at times, but like you really stay in that mindset. I would tell myself this, and like when things get tough, just be like, yo, I'm on the right path. Like always know that. And I feel like if you always know that, good things, the law of attraction, like good things start coming to you. And I would just remind myself that and like tell myself that as times get tough, like count on others around you to hold you up and believe in you. And like they're going to do that. And yeah, I mean, like I don't know. I wouldn't change a lot because it's hard. Because like I've really enjoyed the ups and the downs.
Of course,
I would just try and reemphasize some of the learnings that I've learned over the last 5 years that I didn't know back then.
Beautiful, love that.
That is beautiful.
Chad, Ryland, what do you think on that?
I would say just focus on what feels good for me. Like having a good meal with you guys, going on a long walk with Hallie, like getting to the ocean on a Saturday morning to feel the salt water, get a surf in, go into yoga. Like those things light me up. When I realize that I'm not doing those things in life, I'm not coming to form the best that I can every single day. And people around me notice that too, because I'm not around you guys every day anymore. So like the things that I can do that light me up, fill my cup up so I can fill up others people's cups and bring that energy is doing those things. And one thing that I learned clear, I think Chad can resonate, is like, hey, if you're still squatting over like 135 pounds, stop that, because we're probably all going to have back pain at one point. And back pain sucks. That's been a debilitator for you. It's been a debilitator for me. And like some of the hardest months that I had out in California was when I can't walk or I couldn't move because I was in so much back pain. So more yoga and like more high intensity interval training probably. Chad, what you got on that?
Dude, it's tough because like what you said, it's like, what would I give advice? Would I give myself? What would I tell myself? And I wouldn't change a goddamn thing for sure, but I would tell myself like let go. Like the strength comes in letting go, like let go. I think like I had a lot to work on, more than I ever thought, more than I ever realized. Like I've always like more than I ever realized when we first moved out here. And I think like I carried a lot of things with me for years that like I just couldn't seem to shake sometimes. Like that would come in waves or spurts, but it's like just letting go and being able to like not forget the past by any means, never, but like just keep going forward, just like all steps forward, man. Just keep going, and let go, like let go of whatever's is holding you back, whatever's blocking you, whatever's scaring you, whatever's making you feel like just let go, and keep going forward. Yeah, I think haven't done that at this point, but I wish I would have done it a little earlier.
Yeah.
To plug one thing too that I realized I didn't say, that hearing you guys talk, is I actually would have told myself too to talk to more people about how I'm feeling. I feel like that's something I've really learned more recently than the last 5 years, within the last year, like whether it's a therapist or just a friend or your parents or whoever it is, but like really get some things off your chest if you're internally, or like let somebody have the space to help you get those off your chest, because you can think that you're actually, you know, sharing things that are affecting you, but until you really feel that feeling of being free and like Chad's saying, let go and really talk about how you're feeling, like that was something that I realized I thought I had been doing, but I wasn't. And if I would have started 5 years ago, I think it would have really helped me get to where I am now, maybe a bit quicker. I just come at peace with myself a bit more.
Josh, let's turn to you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally relate. I mean, I wouldn't change anything because those are our lessons that we learn, right? And that's what we learn from. So I certainly wouldn't change anything. But the advice that I would give to myself, or what I would remind myself, is don't overestimate what you can do in a year.
Yeah.
And because you're probably underestimating what you can do in 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like we often overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5.
Yeah.
And I think that sitting here 5 years later it's insane.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane to see what can happen in 5 years. Certainly 10 years, but that mindset of lengthening the runway. And we kind of talked on that as well, but not being so short-sighted, like you mentioned, Ryland, not being so short-sighted of like thinking about this week or this month or you know, how I'm feeling this current state, but lengthen the runway a bit. When you can give yourself a longer runway and you can start to look at things in a year, 2 years, and you start to play a longer game and you open up your horizons, like things can change so rapidly when you do that. Like they change faster when you do that than they would if you're focused too short term. So
100%.
I would have just reminded myself, like, hey, you're right where you need to be. Take it slow, take it easy, like keep going one foot in front of the next, because that's really going to make a big impact. And then the other thing I would remind myself is nothing is for naught. Like nothing is unrelated. Even if you feel like you're having an experience of like, oh, this is not related to really what I want to do. I'm starting now to see, since I've launched this new company, I'm starting now to see
it's all one thing, right?
All of these different past experiences were essential to be where I'm at now, and will be essential for where I'm at. Like it all starts to, like the dots really connect looking backwards. So I would remind myself, like nothing is for naught. Even if you're in a job that you freaking hate, even if you're in a state that feels super low, or even if you feel like you're around people, you're connecting with people that aren't going to be relevant for where you want to do, like check yourself, because there's a damn good chance that they are, and you just don't see it yet. So I would remind myself, nothing is for naught, and the things are going to lead to something.
Jacks me up. Scene drop mic. That is it.
What resonates with you there?
It's all one thing, bro. It's all one thing. It's all one thing. All the reps count. Everything counts. You literally hit the nail on the head. But that's like, there couldn't be more truth to that. Even in the jobs you hate, even in the jobs you love, even in the decisions you make outside of work, even in the decisions you make inside work, it's all one thing. It all related. Every skill, every lesson, every success, every failure plays a part in today. It's like you could not have said that more perfectly. And like I kind of needed to hear that, to be honest. So I just like, I fuck with that really hard. That was dope.
There's one thing I kind of skipped over, but like don't be afraid to make those investments. I think whether it's buying that, there's a book that I think we've all read. It's the Defining Decades. I think everyone should read a book about their 20s because it's a really pivotal time of their life, and you're really setting up their trajectory. So that's number one. Like, make that $30 investment, or make that investment in that gym membership. There's a gym membership that we all used to be a part of, and like the sauna and the steam room, that brings me so much joy. I might pay a premium for it, but I don't overlook how much joy that brings me day to day. The investment for the CFA, or even the next level camera that I bought, sure, it was uncomfortable to spend $2,000 to $3,000 on a camera, but that's brought me so much abundance and it brought me more opportunity. So like, wherever you think it's going to bring you really uncomfortable, make a monetary investment in yourself. It's all about making that investment in yourself. Time and money in yourself is probably going to pay off. Trust your intuition.
Understanding investments versus expenses.
Yes,
in that sense. Because like you buying a camera, the actual like price that you put down is an expense, but it's an investment. And that's led to a lot of other things. Same thing with the gym membership. You know, understanding those costs that might be high, but they're actually an investment, and realizing what that can do for you. Really important. Good point.
Yeah. It's all coming together when you guys are speaking, you know.
That's why these conversations are so valuable. Like, we do this for ourselves, and that's why it's always beautiful to tune in and drop in, because we're able to reflect. It's all about that reflection muscle. There's two muscles that I think that we've all really built and we've worked, and things have forced us to build and we've grown stronger with. And one is resilience. So I think one is leaning into that discomfort. Like, Chad, I literally remember you telling me when you first were working at the startup company you were at, your previous job, and you would see how far you could lean into the this uncomfort. Like, you said you would literally grab your balls as you walked in to like knock on the CEO's door, like physically just like grab the balls and like, right, to just go lean into that edge. But that
real imagery.
It's some real imagery. Yeah, through the pocket.
There's a lot to grab. There's a lot to grab. You got used to it.
But that idea of like, you know, just
sorry, Bob.
that idea of like leaning into that discomfort and building that resilience of going into this uncomfortable thing. That's one muscle. And I think the second muscle is the self-reflection. Yeah. Through journaling, like you mentioned, through these conversations of being able to reflect and be like, connect the dots and be able to reflect and say, hey, where do I want to go moving forward from here? Yeah. What other muscles do you think that we have built, or the mentality, or things that have shaped our mentality to get where we're at here?
Vulnerability is a huge thing for me, bro. I think vulnerability is everything, because there are so many instances where you will feel vulnerable. Whether it's like talking to a girl, whether it's like telling a story to your friend, whether it's like speaking, like if you could lean into vulnerability, which is like also discomfort, but like leaning into that on vulnerability, that is where the growth comes. That is truly, truly where the growth comes, because on everything that you do that's vulnerable, you're like, you don't feel so vulnerable the next time you do it. You just don't. And like that happens in so many different circumstances. Like just in the just like when I was at Bird, I was in recruiting and I was going for a new job in sales, and every single person in recruiting now knew I was leaving recruiting because I'm going through recruiting. And that felt mad vulnerable, because they're like, why do you want to leave us? Why do you not like us? Then what if I don't get the job? I'm still going to be in recruiting. Now they think I want to leave. But then also the fact that like they all know I'm going for these 2 other sales jobs. So if I don't get it, like I look like, how does that look? Right? Like, and this is a minor thing, but it's like leaning into that vulnerability and being like, okay, like this is like where the growth comes. Like this is where like I'm taking really important reps. Like, and it's the same thing. Like I was just talking to someone who's like going for a promotion, right? There's a team of 3 and there's 1 promotion. And these 3 people are all really, really, really good friends, but they're all going for the same promotion. So what do? Do you feel bad that you're going to go take this job over somebody else that you're friends with? But like, you got to lean into that vulnerability and that discomfort and understand, like, if it's mine, I'm going to take it. Like, this is mine. And like, vulnerability is such a important big piece that like, that I think like isn't talked about that much, but it's vulnerability in every aspect.
There's strength and vulnerability.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'm like, that is the strength, is a vulnerability to me in so many ways. Like, not being afraid to fail. So, God, I'm getting pretty pumped up right now. So,
I'm gonna go need to play some basketball.
So this has been an awesome conversation here, boys. Much more to come. I think that I'd love to wrap by everybody just sharing, like, what's one thing that you're stoked about for the future as we look ahead. We've done a lot of great reflecting on
on the past over here and reflecting on these past 5 years and some of these tactical experiences and ideas that have gotten us to where we're at. Now, what's next? Like, what's next for Danny Hurley? What's next for Chad Sonkin? What's next for Ryland Puzatello? I'll share what's next for me as well. But what's next? What are you excited about looking forward?
I can start. I mean, I'm getting married in November of this year, so like I'm stepping into a new chapter of my life.
Mazel tov.
And
Mazel
thank
tov,
you.
yeah.
And you know, I see the next promotion on the horizon in my day job. I got people asking me when I'm going to quit my job, which I don't have plans to, but people perceive my photography really taking off, which I think it is too. And Hallie and I talk all the time about creating a separate page called Riley Creative, taking Hallie and Riley, fusing it together, and just taking that to the next level of our creative partnership there. There's a lot that we've been mulling on, and just building our family out and merging finances and merging our life together. I think there's so much to be excited about, a lot of unknown, but we're just going to figure out along the way. And I'm excited to, you know, keep in close contact with you guys, whether that's someday moving to San Diego, staying in LA for another 10 years. I don't know what I don't know what it looks like, but the unknown is just so beautiful, and I'm looking forward to taking flight.
Beautiful.
Hell yeah.
And we got your back.
That's right.
I guess for me, what the future, what's next for me is like, I guess I won't specifically say just in case, but you know, I'm queuing up on another big jump for me. I feel like and it sounds like you kind of in a similar way, but I think like last time I took a big jump, it was probably moving out here. And 5 years go by, and I'm like, I'm ready to take that big jump again in my career and personally, and kind of shoot for the fucking stars. But I'm gearing up here to make some change, to take a big jump, and I'm excited for it. I'm leaning into it. Definitely nervous, definitely a little scared, but more than all of that, like, I'm excited, I'm pumped up, and I'm ready to, and I'm ready. So
you've been there before, bro.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
At the edge looking over, right?
Yeah.
What does Max say? You got to jump before you can swim?
Yeah, you gotta jump in the swim,
in the net
baby.
shall appear.
Jump in the net shall appear. One of my favorite quotes from all time. Shout out to Gubin.
Shout out to Gubin. We
Shout
guys
out
played
to
basketball with,
Gubin.
shared that line with us when he left his marriage or something like that. He's like, jump and the net shall appear,
Jump in
boys.
the net shall appear.
Like, okay,
Whoa,
damn, that hit.
Yeah.
Gubin.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think mine's similar to Chad. Like, I won't get into too many specifics, but just a big jump professionally and personally too. Like, coming up on in the upcoming months. I think, like, you know, it's funny. We're at like a 5-point check mark of like, or 5-year checkpoint of graduating college, and I think like the first 5 years have been really about like establishing like a good foundation, like getting involved, whether it's professionally or personally, like figuring out what I can only speak for myself, but like what I'm going to be doing in the near to long-term future. And I feel like I've figured that out in the last 5 years. It's taken some time. And now, like, the next step for me, what gets me really excited and what I'm like really looking forward to is like really taking that to the next level, you know, like getting ready to make some moves professionally, like with music and jumping jobs and getting ready into like really grinding and proving to myself what I'm capable of. And same thing personally, you know, it's like I've lived in LA for the last 5 years and getting ready to, you know, make a next step of being here for the foreseeable future. And like, really, I'm just really excited about figuring out who I am post college life and like who I am as an adult. And now the next 5 to 10 years is really about, for me, like being that best version of me, that best Danny Hurley that I am as an adult life, where I get to make my choices of who I am and what I want to do, and really just focusing on that and executing it and continuing to build a strong community around me of people and obviously, you know, you guys. And I would say like that's what I'm really excited about, is like I feel like the foundation is there and we've given the foundation to each other of who we can be, and now it's just like, let's take that to the next level.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Bro. Hell yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and for me, it's I love the way you said that too, and it feels like these last 5 years have really been about the foundation. It's been like life 101, right? It's like the foundation level of deciding and experimenting with who we want to become and trying that on, like experimenting with different careers and different experiences to figure out like what feels good and what do we feel aligned, what lights us up, and where are the paths opening up. And so it feels like for all of us, it's so cool because we're on the same page. Is like, even though we're not all living together anymore, we're still on the same page going through life together. And I think that we share that bond and we'll share that throughout the rest of our life. But it feels like we're graduating in another big way. It feels like this is graduation. This is spring graduation time. And for me personally, it feels that way as well, as I'm gearing up to leave the company that I've been at for the past 5 years as director of operations and go full force into my own thing with Edge Theory Labs and really leaning in and taking a shot. Like now is my, like I've got something that I'm excited about to really take a shot with. And so now it's like, all right, cool. Like it's time to lean in and take a shot. And what's so beautiful is that it feels like, it doesn't really feel like a jump for me, because it feels like for the past 5 years, I've built a bridge to get to this point. Yeah. And so it feels like it's a very natural progression. And that's other advice I'd give myself and to other people is like, build a bridge. Like, taking a big jump can be scary. So like build a bridge, identify where you're going to go and start taking moves to get there. And so I feel like I've built this bridge, and now I'm really excited for this next chapter to run with it and to like just play and to see what comes and to put in the work that I'm excited to put in and see where it all lands. So
hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
100%.
Well,
Use
boys,
code Chad 10 for 10% off your Edge Theory.
there you go. Boys, this has been an absolute pleasure. I love you, boys.
Love you, bro.
Love too, man.
Love you, boys.
And let's do this again. Any
again.
last wrapping
Let's get this
thoughts?
fucking married.
Let's get this guy married. Yeah, that's right.
Let's go.
Any last thoughts as we wrap up?
I've ran into the Rufus DeSoul drummer twice in the past like 12 months. So I'm just gonna put it out there. I think one day I'm gonna be on tour with them, taking photos, taking videos.
I love it. Let's do that. What else do you want to put out there? What else do we want to put out there? What's next? What's the next social contrast? What's the next social contract? What's the next audacious step? I'll share mine as we think about it.
Let's go.
Yeah. I just like had this image of really creating a movement. Like building a movement. That's the next massive step, is building a movement in a way that's gaining big traction. That's something in health and wellness. That's something to do with Edge Tub and Edge Theory Labs and inspiring people at a greater level and creating, having critical mass built with a movement that's like a community that's really changing the game. So that's my next indicated step. It's going to be selling, it's going to be selling $10 million worth of tubs and services that go with tubs and coaching and consulting along with that. So that's going to be a big move. And it's just really creating this movement to spread these messages through to the world.
I don't have much capacity, but you have any internships open?
I definitely I want to pack stadiums. I want to be on a stage and I want to be pumping people up, inspiring people, motivating people, and helping people and putting my own spin on it. And I'll say it now. I'm gonna soon I have a little house for my parents right down the street over there with the keys for them. That would be
love it.
That's a lock.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
So
victory to me is when you get your moms right, huh?
victory to me is
Nipsey
when you
Hussle.
get-
Nipsey.
and when you get your mind right.
That's right.
Mama's song seems like a Cali girl. Should be out here.
Yeah,
She gonna be a
yeah.
Cali girl. She gonna be. She doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. Danny?
I just want to keep helping people win.
Mhm.
I'd say like finding like my purpose is like finding people who have talent and have something to bring to the world and just like giving them the ability to do that. Right now it's in music, but like what I'm really focused on is expanding, like in the future is just expanding that upon really every avenue, honestly. Like again, music's right now, whether it's athletes, whether it's actors, whether it's chefs, like I just really like have this passion for finding talent, people who have something to give to this world and being a part of them actually changing the world. And I'm very, very confident and determined to do that for the rest of my life. And really like my goal with that is to change the world through giving the people the right spotlight to do that.
Hell yeah, bro.
Boom.
Let's go
That's a
change the
great way.
world.
Yeah.
Let's go change the world, boys.
Cold
Love
tub
y'all.
time.
Great stuff, guys. What's up, y'all? Joshua Church here with Find the Others. We just wrapped an awesome day. I got my boys Danny, Chad, and Ryland with me here. We had a fun day. We played some hoops in the morning, a little 2-on-2 action. We played some hoops. We sat down, had a conversation. We reflected on the past 5 years since we graduated college and moved out to LA together. So tune into that content, hear more about the experiences and stories that led us to where we're at now. So that's a wrap from us today, boys. Awesome time, man.
Really nice, bro.
Absolutely. It's good stuff, good stuff. And we'll see y'all next time. Can't wait to have the wrap-up combo in 5 years from now, see where we're at.